Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal. It's that time of year again where we take a look at how Arsenal could line up ahead of the new season. This time ahead of the 2023-2024 campaign. Off the back of a very good season where we finished second behind Man City, only 5 points behind Man City, so this will be different. Usually we talk about how we need to replace up to 10 to 12 players. This time it feels like we need 3, 4, 5 players to really go to the next level and compete for the big titles. So how could Arsenal line up ahead of the 2023-2024 season? Let's get to it. As usual, we will include the potential new signings, 3 or 4 players who we've been linked to, as well as not include the ones who could end up leaving, the likes of Granit Xhaka and Tierney. So let's start in goal. 100% Ramsdale is going to be the Arsenal goalkeeper next season. That would be a madness if we even think of replacing him. He's had 2 very good seasons at Arsenal. The world-class saves he made last season and the previous season as well. One of the reasons why Arteta and Arsenal have been able to go to the next level. So Ramsdale is a very easy one. He rarely has weaknesses like our previous goalkeepers. Maybe one and maybe loss of concentration in a couple of games where he can give away the ball like he did against Southampton, but that rarely occurs. In terms of his kicking, brilliant. In terms of his shot stopping, personally I do believe he's the best shot stopper in the Premier League. Doesn't really cost us in terms of aerial balls from corners and free kicks maybe once in a whole season. So I think for a goalkeeper, Ramsdale is definitely the goalkeeper you want. On top of that, the other teams, all the other big teams, the likes of Chelsea, Tottenham, if you can call them big teams, obviously they are looking for goalkeepers, and Man United as well are looking for a goalkeeper. So it's going to be a tough market for the teams looking for goalkeepers. The prices will be crazy because everyone wants goalkeepers from Inter Milan, everyone wants goalkeepers from AC Milan. So it's better for us to have a good goalkeeper like Ramsdale so that we don't have to focus in that position. So Ramsdale is an easy pick. In terms of defense, let's start with the centre back. Gabriel and Saliba 100%. Gabriel just signed a new contract. Saliba is close to signing a new contract as well. Saliba will be on crazy money, almost 200,000 a week. But after the season we had and the way we fell off after he got injured, I think he definitely deserves it. And Gabriel himself had a very good season. He played every single game. He only made a mistake against Fulham at the beginning of the campaign. The rest of the season he was very solid, not only defensively but also attacking wise. And for centre back partnerships, you have to keep them consistent. That is how teams end up winning titles. Like if you look at title winning teams, Man United with obviously their 2 centre-backs, Vidic and Ferdinand, they were there together for a couple of years or more than a couple of years. For Chelsea themselves as well with Terry and Carvalho. Arsenal back in the days with the likes of Adams and Bold and Adams and Keown. You have to keep it consistent to win titles. And Gabriel and Saliba, I was happy with how they performed. They do talk actually in French on the pitch. Their communication is great and they have a good relationship with the goalkeeper as well. So very easy one to keep Gabriel and Saliba in the starting lineup as the centre backs. Hopefully Saliba has a good preseason, he recovers from his injury, and we will be good in that position. We will talk about the backups later. In terms of the left back, I'm happy with Zinchenko continuing as the left back. He was incredible for 80% of the season. He only made a few mistakes at the back end of the campaign match in April against Liverpool. He lost Trent Alexander-Arnold, and against Aston Villa he gave away the first goal, but that was about it. A couple of losses of concentration here and there, but for majority of the season he literally transformed our game in terms of defense and attack. Playing as an inverted fullback, he was creating more chances than most of our other players actually. Like he was so good in terms of picking up passes in midfield. He was almost as a midfielder. Like if you bring someone who's never watched football before and you ask them what position do you think Zinchenko plays in, they will probably tell you a midfielder because of how well he plays that position. So I'm definitely happy for him to keep that role in left back position and come into the midfield whenever he's needed in the game. So Zinchenko as the left back 100%. In terms of the right back, this is where we include our first new signing. We will also include him in a different position later on in the video. Make sure to stay tuned. We're going to include Caicedo there. Now we saw him playing for Brighton in that position for the last 2 months, for 3 or 4 games playing in that position, and we saw Arteta testing out Thomas Partey in that position against Nottingham Forest and Wolverhampton as well. He also tested Kivior as a left back as well, so it's looking like he really wants to go to that inverted right back and inverted full back, having both sides, players who can get into the midfield and help you. And for someone like a Cancelo, I wish. I mean, he's one of those players we've been linked to, but we'll not include him in this video for now. Caicedo is one of those players who would fit into that role effortlessly because he's used to being a midfielder. So for him to come into midfield, that is his natural position anyway, and him being able to defend and make tackles at right back as well, that would be so good for him to play in that position. Now, I don't expect him to feature in that position a lot, especially if Zinchenko is also doing the same thing on the other side. We could see maybe the time Zinchenko is being rested, Caicedo plays there, or maybe Zinchenko doesn't start our games and we play someone else there, especially the bigger games in Champions League. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if Caicedo plays in that position a lot. In fact, since Partey played that kind of role a lot at the end of the season, maybe Arteta was already testing out, and we'll get a better idea of what he's planning next season in the preseason. We have a lot of big preseason games, more than 6 of them, so we'll see what Arteta is testing out in that position. So Caicedo as the right back. We'll also talk about him as a midfielder. Talking about midfield, the number 6 position, Thomas Partey once again. There's been rumors of him leaving the club. He only has like 2 years remaining on his contract now. I don't think he'll add his contract at Arsenal. I don't think he will be here for the next 3 years. No, he could be here for only next season or the season after that and then leaving us on a free, but I can't see him being here for more than 2 campaigns at most because of his age and obviously his injuries. By then he might be getting a lot of injuries, hopefully not. But Thomas Partey in midfield, I was disappointed with him by how he ended the season, yes, but for the rest of the campaign he was able to stay fit, and I was really happy with how he did. So it's not straightforward to just say drop Partey. But again, when you talk about Caicedo as a midfielder, we'll talk about the potential of having Thomas Partey as a bench player. So Thomas Partey in midfield, and then next to him we'll include our second signing. What a signing this could be, Declan Rice. The talks are that 80% this deal is done. He will be an Arsenal player. He will add a lot to our team. Both him and Caicedo are up top there with in terms of interceptions and tackles and those kind of attributes in midfield. He was very good at it. He's always been very good at it. He'll add some leadership into the midfield. He'll add some steel into the midfield. He'll add some dynamism into the midfield as well. He can push you forward with the ball. He can collect the balls from the defenders or from Thomas Partey, from Caicedo, whoever is playing there. He can push us forward. He can also come back to the left side whenever Zinchenko pushes forward or whenever Zinchenko comes into midfield. It's going to be very interesting to see how that one works. But Rice as the left-sided, basically replacing Xhaka on the left side of Thomas Partey, that could be absolutely brilliant. He can also play in the Partey role if we need him to play there, especially if you're trying to go fully attack and we're going to rest Partey and Rice can play. Then you can also include the other forward players, Odegaard and Smith Rowe, for example, in front of him, because I've also heard that Smith Rowe is training to play in that Xhaka role too, so that will be very interesting. But Declan Rice, this would be an amazing signing. This would be a record-breaking signing for us. So Declan Rice is a second signing to be included in our team next season. On the right side of Thomas Partey, very easily, Arsenal's player of the season, Martin Odegaard. Absolutely no problem with him. I want him to continue in that position. 15 goals last season, one of our best players, especially in away games. The kind of goals you're scoring against Tottenham, against Newcastle, against Chelsea. The fact that he added goals to his game, that is absolutely amazing. So if he can match that same number of goals and also create more chances for the rest of the players, knowing that Rice and Caicedo and Partey are behind them to make the interceptions and tackles, that would be brilliant. So he will get more opportunities to create chances, considering Rice and Caicedo are behind him. That would be absolutely amazing. So Odegaard as next to Thomas Partey can also push forward to play as the number 10. In terms of the forward players, we start on the left side. Martinelli, our second or third, our third best player from last season according to the votes. Personally, I would have put him second. I think he was really good. Even when we were dropping off a bit, Martinelli was still brilliant. He turned up from the first game. He scored our first goal of last season, and I continued his form against Leicester. I continued his form against the likes of West Ham as well. He was really good. Was it West Ham? There's a game, I think Aston Villa, where we won late on early on in the season last season. So he did well in all of those games, and he continued his form big games against Liverpool and such kind of teams, he was turning up. Even when you dropped off in March and April, he was still very, very good. So Martinelli continues on the left side. This time he won't have to play all the games because we have some backup players who will be there. Last one he had to play a lot because Trossard had not joined Arsenal until January. So for the first 4 months before the World Cup, Martinelli basically had to play every single game. On the right side, we will be including our second best player from last season according to the votes, Bukayo Saka. And if you're putting the last 3-4 seasons together, he's pretty much our best player from the last 4 seasons. Yes, he dropped off at the end of the campaign, but that is because he played every single game, 38 games. For a centre-back and for a goalkeeper, they can know how to manage their energy, and they don't have to run too much. But for someone like a Saka, who you're depending on to score your goals, depending on to create your chances, depending on to take on the fullbacks as well, he'll get tired if you play him for 38 games. And also for him being that young, is maybe still doesn't know how to manage his energy throughout the game yet. But as soon as he learns that, the way he keeps on learning that throughout these years, he will be a very dangerous player if he knows how to save his energy during a game and not always run and then pick up pace right away when he gets the ball. So I think that is something he can definitely learn. And then up top, Gabriel Jesus for sure. A lot of people talked about a striker. Yes, I'd love a backup striker, but then again, forward is not really our problem. We scored 88 goals, and if you add 2 solid midfielders into the midfield, you're allowing Odegaard, Saka, Matil to create more chances. You can easily get 100 goals in a season even without a striker. Would it be good to get a backup striker? Yes, but for me, Jesus was brilliant. He's not only a player who's going to stay in the box, he is dynamic as well. He can come into midfield, he can go to the right side, he can go to the left side. His relationship with Saka, Matil and Odegaard is also so good, so that helps the team. So that is the starting lineup that we could fill next season. 2 additions in Rice and Caicedo. The other way we could have this, before we go to the bench, let's bring back Ben White to the team. So if we bring back Ben White to the team on the right side, I think he had a very good season. Personally, for me, I included him in the top 5 players of last season. He was very good as always. For me, the past 2 seasons he's been at Arsenal, he's been incredible for us. He played at centre back for 1 season, played at right back for the next. Who knows, maybe he'll be our striker next season. That is how mobile and how durable he is as well. There's another word I'm looking for. He's very good. He's very consistent as well and can play in a lot of different positions too. So Ben White at right back. Now if you do that, that allows you to push back Caicedo to midfield, and that can allow you to have either Caicedo on the bench or Partey on the bench. Now if we sign Caicedo for like 80 million, can you really see him as a bench player? I don't think so. And considering as well that before Thomas Partey started playing at right back at the end of last season, there's a couple of games that he was on the bench and Jorginho was starting. So was that Arteta planning for Partey to be on the bench for next season and Caicedo to start there? So that would be the alternative. Caicedo, Rice and Odegaard in midfield and keep the same back four that was playing last season, because when they were playing together like this, we were not conceding a bunch of goals. But when Saliba got injured and we made a few changes in defense and our midfield, Jorginho also came in. I think he did well, but also losing our main guy in Saliba at the back, that was a problem. So obviously Caicedo in midfield, that would also work. Let's go to the bench now. Now Matt Turner definitely stays. I don't think we really need a goalkeeper. That's the list of our problems this summer transfer window. Ramsdale is obviously expected to play in the Premier League and also play in the Champions League. And for someone like a Turner, you can cover in the Carabao Cup and FA Cup, no problem. And some would actually argue play Ramsdale also in the FA Cup. So that will leave this Turner with only the Carabao Cup. So for me, I have no problem with him starting. In terms of defensive options on the bench, Kivior also stays, obviously. Ended the season on a good note, scored his first goal. He also covered at left back when Zinchenko was injured at the end of the season. Tierney was not playing. Kivior played at left back as well. We also saw him playing in the Saliba role too on the right side. Usually we don't see a lot of left-footed centre-backs playing on the right side of the centre-backs, but we saw Kivior playing next to Gabriel, so he could cover a lot of positions for us. Kivior, and then Tomiyasu, he will be back fit. Hopefully can stay fit. We really need him next season. One of those players, like if he was there last season, he would have been playing on that right side. We would have pushed back Ben White to play with Gabriel instead of Holding, so that would have been an option if Tomiyasu was fit. But unfortunately, him not being there, we had to keep Ben White at right back and bring in Holding at centre back and sometimes Kivior in that role. So Tomiyasu on the bench again. For me, this would be his last season. If he still gets injured again this season, maybe it's time to think of letting him go, but hopefully he does recover this season and we can keep him. The next player we'll include is another new signing, Fresneda. We've not signed him yet, but there's been links to him and he's only going to cost 20 million, so it's doable. We've been linked to another guy called Boy, so he could be the other one who you can include, but Fresneda is the one I'm going to include as a backup fullback. He can come on for Zinchenko on the left side, he can come on for Ben White on the right side, or Caicedo on the right side, or you can even come on for Partey on the right side, come on for Partey and then Caicedo comes into midfield and Fresneda on the right side. A lot of different ways you can use Fresneda. So those are the three defensive options on the bench. In the first one, if you have Caicedo on the right side, obviously you could also have Ben White on the bench. The next category of players, Thomas Partey on the bench too, if you start Caicedo in the team, and then Jorginho as well. There's been rumors about both players potentially leaving, Partey and Jorginho, but I think we're going to definitely keep at least one of them. Both of them leaving, I can't see it unless we buy 3 midfielders, or unless it has a genius plan. I can't see it working. So Partey and Jorginho in midfield. I think Jorginho did okay for us since he joined in January, and Partey, as I said, he was great for like 80% of the season. Smith Rowe is that though. We've talked about him being trained for the number 8 role, the Xhaka role. He could play instead of Rice, or not like start his games instead of Rice. No, he can come on depending on the game, or Rice could start as a central midfielder or defensive midfielder, and you could have both Smith Rowe and Odegaard on the pitch. Smith Rowe can also play for you on the left side, especially if you want to play Trossard up front and then you want to rest Martinelli. You can also play Smith Rowe on the left side, or if you just want to leave Trossard on the bench and bring in Smith Rowe for Martinelli, it can also work. And then next players, the wingers, Trossard, Nelson, and also Fabio Vieira as the number 10. Fabio Vieira is also cover for Odegaard. He can also play on the right side. Big season for him, had a disappointing season. A lot of Arsenal fans have actually said sell him, but I would keep him for one more season. And then Trossard, big impact, 10 assists and a goal since coming like at the beginning of February. Incredible. He can play a lot of different roles there. If you play a 4-2-3-1, he can play as a 10, he can play on the left side, he can also play on the right side, and he can also play as a false 9. And then Reece Nelson, just about to sign a new contract. He will be a huge cover for Martinelli. And can we also see him as a backup for Saka, especially if we don't buy a backup for Saka? Could you see Nelson being the one coming on for Saka like he did in the Nottingham Forest game just before the World Cup? It is a possibility, because in this video I've not included a backup for Saka who we could buy. So that is another thing. Gnont has been linked to Arsenal from Leeds, so if you have someone like that, that could be very, very helpful. And then also adding Nketiah on the bench. Again, half of the fan base want him to leave, but I can't see him leaving. I think he'll definitely be here next season. Okay, not definitely, but there's a 65% chance he'll be here next season and on the bench. I'm not sure if he'll be happy to be on the bench, because having him there, even if Jesus goes off, there's the potential of having Martinelli up front, there's a potential of having Trossard up front, and there's another potential of having another striker. If we get another striker or another winger who can play as a striker like a Diaby, Nketiah's game time will be hugely reduced. So as you can see in that lineup, Xhaka has been sold, Tierney has been sold, and Holding is no longer an Arsenal player in that lineup. So we've gotten rid of a couple of players, and we've improved in the team. The likes of Elneny are not there as well. So let's recap it one more time. Ramsdale in goals, Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba as 3 defenders, and Caicedo or Ben White at the right back position, Partey or Caicedo in the defensive midfield position, Rice, Odegaard next to him, Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus up front. We scored 88 goals. I have no problem with that front 4. And then on the bench, Turner, Kiwior, Tomiyasu, Fresneda. You have 3 defensive options. Kiwior can play 2-3 different roles. Tomiyasu can play across the whole back 4. Fresneda can play both sides. Partey, Jorginho, midfield cover. Smith Rowe, 2-3 positions he can cover in the forward line. Trossard, 2-3 positions he can cover in the forward line. Nelson the same. Fabio Vieira can be backup for Odegaard, and also adding Nketiah up front. So Pepe, we wait to see. Marquinhos, we wait to see. Tavares could be there if Arteta decides to bring him back next season. Lokonga could be there if he decides to bring them back next season. But for Pepe and Lokonga, I don't think they'll be here. Marquinhos, I expect him to go out on loan. Tavares has a chance of being here next season, especially if Arteta feels he did very, very well at at his team, Marseille, on loan, then we could have him back at Arsenal. But let me know what you think of that. That is 3 signings included. Ben White's not a new signing. Caicedo at right back, also Fresneda, and also Declan Rice. 3 signings. I think we need like 4 or 5. So let me know which other players would you add. Gay is also another option from Crystal Palace at centre back, but it's going to be very, very interesting. This is the season where we are trying to win the league title. We are trying to compete with Man City. We are back in the Champions League. We are no longer facing teams from Norway and Austria and Kazakhstan and Sweden, all these other, not including the top 5 leagues pretty much. We are now facing teams from the top 5 leagues. You could face Bayern Munich in the group stage, PSG, Barcelona. Like, you could end up facing a lot of teams, so you'll have to need a very, very good lineup. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll definitely catch up with you guys on the next one.